let's talk about some budget expectation. Arundhati Bhattacharya of SBI now joins in. Ms. Bhattacharya, hi, good morning. What would be on top of agenda in terms of the PSU bank's expectations from budget?
Well, you know, the economy is basically something where if there is growth, all the banks will benefit, PSU or otherwise. So therefore, if you ask me what are the bank's expectations, and I'd like to take it as that rather than only the PSU banks, the bank's expectations are various steps that will ensure that the economy starts moving. So if you look at the government, currently I think the important challenge before them is that of job growth. For job growth, we believe the MSME sector is one sector which can actually give a lot of job growth. And therefore, we do expect some steps in the MSME sector to ensure that this sector does better. I think we have always said that there are two major issues with the MSME sector, other than a host of other minor issues. But the major issues are lack of capital and secondly, their inability to receive their payments on time. So hopefully, you know, towards this lack of capital, the government may think of creating some kinds of funds, some kind of way to ensure, you know, the deserving MSMEs get the capital that they need in order to scale and thus keep on creating jobs. Similarly, for the working capital cycle, whether we could have some kind of a platform wherein bills could be put and industry majors would have a reasonable time, say 30 days, in which to either accept or refuse the bills, so that accordingly, you know, these smaller players, they would be in a position to raise finance. Now, that is one side. Now, if you look at the agriculture side also, if you look at the reports that have come from RBI and otherwise, in agriculture, we have been told in India the problem is fragmented land holding. Now, that is not really something that we should take as a given, because if you consider China, they too have fragmented land holding. Then how is it that their productivity is from 6 to 190% more? India is very well endowed with the right kind of climate to have 3 crops a year. So we need to see how agriculture productivity can go up. And towards that end, you know, there needs to be more capital formation in the agri segment itself. Also, there needs to be more non-farm income. Otherwise, your man-to-land ratio is so skewed that your agricultural productivity will never show an uptick. Right. So I think, you know, certain things in this area is also warranted.
Okay. Ms. Bhattacharya, good morning. You know, I just wanted to take the point forward that you made about recapitalization of state-owned banks. In the interim budget, there was a proposal of 11,300 crores. Do you think the new government will stick to that particular limit, or do you think there could be a hike?
At this point of time, at least the media reports that you all have carried say that there is no possibility of a hike. I don't really have any further information beyond that. But having said that, I do believe that the government will come up with a clear roadmap as to what they intend to see regarding capitalization of banks. And there have been a lot of discussions with the banks themselves as to their capacity to raise various kinds of capital.
Okay. What about the clarity as far as that, you know, the creation of that holding structure for PSUs? Do you think any of that, or rather we would get clarity on that in the budget and a decision would be taken?
See, these things are very complicated because not only do you need to change the law, you would also need to find out what should be the structure. You need to find out whether there would be capital adequacy required. So this is not a simple subject that can be decided on in the space of 40 days. Therefore, I don't really see any clear roadmap on that matter. These matters are all under deliberation and they will take their time, but they are complicated matters. Therefore, the only thing that can come in the budget would be a statement of intent. There cannot be a very clear roadmap in this matter. It will take a lot of time.
Ms. Bhattacharya, I just want to move away from the subject a bit and just wanted, you know, what's happening on the whole United Spirits issue and the Kingfisher issue, because I believe you have a lot of United Spirits shares as collateral. Have you tendered those shares in open offer? And if yes, if you could tell us how many shares have you tendered and how many are still there as collateral?
Frankly, I dislike discussing individual accounts on media. However, let me tell you, it is not USL shares that we have. It was UBHL guarantee and the personal guarantee of Dr. Malya. So those are the securities against which we are proceeding. And whatever is required to be done as per procedures, everything is getting done.
Okay, fair enough. What about the loans that you have sold to the asset reconstruction companies? I mean, what could be the quantum of that loans? Because, you know, we were speaking with the head of RSIL a couple of days ago, and he said that 24 to 25,000 crores of loans have been offered for sale right now, the highest that they've seen in the first quarter.
Because I think, you know, now the things are in a little better shape. Okay. The Reserve Bank of India has also urged us to try and clean up our balance sheets. We also believe that they do a better job at resolution than we do. Not only that, you know, certain checks and balances have also been put on the ARCs to ensure that they perform, that they don't just take these loans and they charge management fee year after year and simply write it off. So there are a lot of checks and balances that they have put in. The banks also have been able, or rather been allowed, to amortize any loans that any losses that they incur on the ARC sales over a period of 2 years. So all of these things are now making it easier for us to look at the ARC routes. Plus, there are quite a number of players now. There are 14 ARCs, so it's easy for us to, you know, showcase it to all and get a fair price discovery as to what the asset could be really worth to them. So these are the enabling features that have happened, as a result of which you are seeing ARC sales.
Okay, so how much is SBI offering on sale? I mean, last quarter I think you sold about 3,500 crores of loans.
That's right, 3,700 crores.
Okay. So going forward?
So this quarter we will be looking at some similar amounts also. This quarter too we are looking at some similar amount.
All right, Mr. Bhattacharya, Ms. Bhattacharya, there were some other budget expectations that you were talking about as well. Apart from the ones that you spoke about, steps in the MSME sector, the recapitalization of state-owned banks, what else are you hoping to see?
We would definitely hope to see something which will unclog the stalled infrastructure projects. Not only ensure that they get completed, but also they get full backward-forward linkages. That would be one great way. Also, it will be an enabler for employment generation that I was talking about. The other things that we would like to see is that the ability of the banks to make longer-term loans for infrastructure. So one would be the loan structure itself, and the other would be the ability of the banks to raise long-term funds, maybe through the bond route or whichever route, but the ability of the banks basically to balance their books when they lend to infrastructure. Also, you know, if you have seen the savings rate in the past, financial savings have come down appreciably over the last few years. We would definitely like to see some measures whereby, you know, financial savings could be made a little more lucrative, or so that, you know, the people begin to save again in financial assets rather than in real assets. And I think last but not least, if we are looking at corruption, one of the major reasons for corruption is because we are such a cash-driven economy. So we would love to see a few measures whereby, you know, cash should be disincentivized, and plastic would be incentivized. So maybe something of that nature also would be a real good thing.
Okay, thank you for lining up all those expectations. We hope at least some of them come through in this particular budget, but thank you for stopping by. That's the word coming in from SBI on what the banking sector is expecting this time around in the budget.